I had to split these up into 2 videos because it took me over 15 minutes to film, and because I'm not verified, I need to keep my videos under 15 minutes. So this is actually going to be part 1 because the video ended up taking too long that I had to split into 2 videos. So this is part 1 of my favorite Vikings players. What's up, guys? This is the Vikings and Xers with John Gramer, and in today's video, wow, I'm actually posting 3 videos in the span of less than 3 months. Surprising. Yes, I know, 3 videos in the span of 2 days. In today's episode of TVae with John Gramer, I'm going to give you my favorite player, my list in order of my favorite players on the Vikings. I mentioned in my last video where I made a tier list of all my favorite NFL teams that I might make a list of my favorite Vikings players soon, and I thought let's just do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start just the bottom of the list of my favorite players, and then once we get to the top 10, I'm gonna actually start naming them. But so yeah, so here to start off the list, we have Tyler Conklin. Something I love about Tyler Conklin is he's the perfect tight end for a wide receiver heavy pass offense, because he's really reliable. You can always pass him on 3rd and short, and he'll always get you yards. He's no Kyle Rudolph. He's not gonna make like huge plays, but he's a reliable guy that you can get the ball to him when you need to. And then after that, we have Mackenzie Alexander. I started loving Mckenzie Alexander back in 2019 because, as I mentioned in my very first podcast, we had a guy named Xavier Rhodes who couldn't even cover a snail without holding on to it. Every single time he was covering a guy, he would either let him go or it was a holding call, and that's why he was actually able to cover. And that's why I absolutely started to love Mackenzie Alexander, because he was actually a reliable corner. And he was really the only reliable corner we had. We had Mike Hughes, who was iffy. He was always injured. We had Trey Waynes, who just wasn't that good. But then we had Xavier Rhodes, who was trash. Now, to kick off the top 10, Pete. What I really like about him is he's one of those guys where, like, it's kind of hard not to like you when you're good, especially when you play. It's kind of hard to not like a player when they're good, especially when they play for your home team, like me with Pete. I was really excited when we actually signed him during the offseason, because I was like, oh, we actually have a reliable cornerback again. Yes. Because at the time, our top corner was Cameron Dantzler. And then Jeff Gladney, 2 trash corners. And then Mike Hughes, we got rid of Mike Hughes this offseason, which is fine, because he's always injured. So yeah, I haven't heard much from him, maybe because he never gets the pass to, because Bashaud Breeland is the one who always blows the coverage. Everybody just passes to Bashaud Breeland. Everybody attacks Bashaud Breeland. It was like when we had Antoine Winfield and Chris Cook. We had Antoine Winfield, who was a great corner. Then we had Chris Cook, who everybody threw to him. And that's the reason why we had a bad pass defense like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago, it was like 8 or 9 years ago. Anyways, let's go to number 9. The sack daddy, Everson Griffin. I started really loving him back in 2017 when he started off his incredible stretch where he had a sack in every single game, at least one sack in every single game, up until the game before the Browns game where he didn't have a sack, but then he redeemed himself by having 2 sacks against the Browns that year. I really liked him that year. He was actually, I didn't know he was actually still like really good. Like 2014 and 15. I didn't even know who he was until like 2015. So now, let's go on to number 8. KJ Osborne. We finally got a reliable number 3 target. We had Jarius Wright as our like third, what my brother would call him, third down threat, who when our top 2 receivers were guarded, we could throw to Jarius Wright, and he always caught it when he needed to. He actually had a great catch against the Saints in the 2017 divisional round. And then we haven't had a good number 3 guy since. We had Aldrick Robinson, who was here for like 4.5 seconds. Then we had Ola BC Johnson. He's reliable, but like he's not the type of guy who you'd want to throw to when you absolutely need to get the first down. KJ Osborne is that guy. What convinced me he was after our second game, because he had a really good game against the Bengals, but I was thinking, oh, whatever, maybe he just it was a fluke game, which he actually had a great catch on 4th and 1. Kirk just threw right to him, he caught it as he was diving, and then reached out for the first and got it. It was an incredible catch that you'd expect from like Jay Jettas or Adam Thielen. And then he also had a great catch against the Browns where he just went up, caught it. Kirk just threw it to him. He was completely covered. He just mossed the Browns defender. Now, time for number 7. Kirk Cousins. For some reason, Kirk gets a lot of hate. Maybe it's because he signed an $84 million contract over 3 years, which at the time, $28 million, it was like he was like a top 5 highest paid quarterback in the league. Now that's kind of low. Like all the highest paid quarterbacks in the league are in the 30 millions, and 28 million does not seem that bad. And actually, at the time back in 2018 when we signed him, that it was like, why would we spend that much? And it seemed really bad because he didn't have a great first season. But since then, he actually had 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, which is great. And this year, he's actually having like kind of an MVP like season. He's thrown now, I think, 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I'm not even joking. He had 18 touchdowns and 2 interceptions before the Packers game, and he had 3 touchdown passes, two to Justin Jefferson and 1 to Adam Thielen. So yeah, he's having a great year. And realizing, I actually started kind of like him when I realized he's actually pretty good. Now on to number 6, Dalvin Cook. This is a guy
John.
What?
Come look at these clothes Sandra has.
You should look at the tag. Not yet.
Yes. Oh, are
not
you making
yet.
a video?
No, I'm talking to the wall. Yes, I am making a video. So, Dalvin Cook only played like 3 games in 2017, his rookie year, because then he tore his ACL. And then in his second year in 2018, he only played 5 games, I think. But then 2019, he finally actually played a decent amount of the season. He played 11 games, still not that much, but compared to how much he was playing, that's actually a lot. He actually got good that year, and then last season he had an insane year, over 1,500 yards, and I really loved him ever since 2019, really, when he started breaking out. That sounds like he has acne. When he really got his breakout year. And like, he's similar to Adrian Peterson. Of course, Adrian Peterson is more dominant than Dalvin Cook. I have to say that, but Dalvin Cook is also a great receiving back, which is really nice to have, especially in this day of the NFL, where it's more of a pass-happy league. That's it for part 1 of my favorite Vikings players. Always remember the Vikings. I said this in the last video too. Remember, the Packers will always suck, and Skull Vikings.